And today, I wrote down some things up here. Social conditions. Social conditions are what affects you, your community, and the society in general. So I put down 6. Employment, health, housing, education, drugs and alcohol, police. The police is an occupying army in our communities. So then we can discuss that a little bit. There may be some things I missed, so you all should be able to, what do you think is missing, something that I missed here in terms of social conditions? Any ideas? Check it out. What else is affecting us in our communities, in the society in general? Employment, health, housing, education, drugs and alcohol, police. The police is an occupying army in our communities, and then we should have a little discussion on that. What does that mean? What do we mean when we say that? You know? But anything else?
Poverty.
Okay.
Poverty/welfare.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Gangs?
Oh,
Are
yeah.
gangs part of our social condition? Okay, what else? Think, take your time, think about it. What are the things?
Racism.
Sexism.
Racism. How do you spell racism? Okay. Anything else?
No.
Think about it. Think about it. Social conditions, things that. Okay, how does the government really function? What is the function of the government? Let's try and start there. What is the nature of the government? How is it made up? Does it start from the president? Is it a president, a vice president?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then you have what other structures in government?
Secretary of State, judicial, executive.
Military.
Okay, so let's deal with, when we talk about the government, then all of these aspects come into what Socorro just said, the secretaries of state, right? And so when you look at that, the federal government is comprised of the president, the vice president, the Congress, the Senate, and the Congress. That's the way it functions. And the Supreme Court probably in between the president, vice president, the Senate, and the Congress, because it's the highest court in the land. So then you got to understand, what is the cabinet? When
Advisors to the president.
The advisors to the president, they're known as what? You have
Cabinet.
Secretary of State,
Interior.
Secretary of Defense.
Interior.
Okay. Let me get this. Take education. Let's start universities,
Oh yeah. College.
college,
High school. Junior college.
junior college,
And then community college. Just kidding.
no, that's the same.
Public school.
Okay, then let's say high school, middle school, and elementary school.
Public school.
Yeah, let's put them down like that. Okay. Then, now I want you to look at your book that I gave you yesterday, and look at the administration of Adams State College. Adams State College is not a university. It's a college. It's a little institution. It's got maybe 2,400 students at Adams State College. Now I want you to go through that administration of Adams State College. After you go through the administration, turn to the next page and see the administration and wait, let me see. Right here. The boards and the council committees. The very first page. Boards and councils committee. What is the makeup of that boards and councils committees? The very first page, Robert. Very first one.
Same thing.
No, what is the makeup? What is the ethnic makeup? Huh? Okay. Now turn to the administration. What is the makeup of the administration? How many Mexicans are in the administration? Who are the next, what follows then? Read them to me. Okay, who's the director of finances?
Shooting. Johnny. There's no Japanese.
He's not Japanese.
He's Chinese.
No.
Right?
Okay, then who follows that under that? Okay, where are the Mexicans that you found in there?
Assistants.
Okay. Where on the boards?
Down.
Boards and councils. How many Mexicans were on the boards and councils?
One.
The administration and the boards and councils are the ones that have the power in the university. So then you keep going through this. Now you go through the next aspect. And just go down that list and then go to the next page and tell me how many Mexican deans there are when you get to the deans of arts and letters, the deans of science. The budget for the University of Colorado for 1995 is $1 billion. For the University of Colorado. $1 billion. That is a larger budget than the whole gross national product of Nicaragua. Does that make sense to you? I mean, that one university in the United States has a larger budget than the nation of Nicaragua? So when you see this, then I want you to reflect, where are the Mexicans, or blacks, or people, or the Native Americans, or the Puerto Ricans, or people of color in general, in terms of the whole administration of this small college? So this is the only one we have access to the whole thing. But I want you to go over it. I want you to dissect it. I want you to tell me tomorrow where the Mexicans are. And we could say it in general, like, okay, no, we always say, what's wrong with the schools? They're racist, they don't teach our history, da-da-da. But there's more to it. It's a whole economic system that's made up off of our misery. So you have to be able to understand, how can the University of Colorado have a larger budget than the country of Nicaragua? Or morally right? When you have 7 million Nicaraguans and one university in the United States has a larger budget than the country of Nicaragua? Is that ethically and morally right? Well, yes, it's so. We're the richest country on the face of the earth. We dominate all these things, so we control the economics, and it's right. But it isn't right, because that means 7 million people in an underdeveloped country are suffering because of things like this. So you always have to be able to make comparatives as an organizer. That's how you have to win your people over. You have to be astute. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to be intelligent. You have to be like Malcolm X. And how did Malcolm X get his intelligence? By going through the whole dictionary, right, when he's in prison, and going through every word and learning every definition. So Malcolm X was really a rehabilitated prisoner, but he did it himself, and because of his religion, his Muslim religion, and his beliefs. So as an organizer, you have to be on top of everything, or else the first time you get into a situation where you have to try and convince and win your people over, and you're stumbling for words and you don't know what you're talking about, or get into a debate with international people around your particular people situation and you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. And not trouble like physical or trouble in that sense, but trouble that you don't understand your own politics, what you're putting forth, and the people that are talking to you will understand that. You have to be able to explain thoroughly our conditions and all these social conditions, all of these things. So you look at that and you go through that, and then you say, okay, then from there you go to, let's go to, let's see, health, education, and welfare. So we've got an example on education. Now we can go to welfare. And welfare is a system that welfare is a system that is really something that is really interesting for us. We really have to understand the welfare system. It costs $198. It costs $198 to give $1 to the poor. So what does that mean to you? It costs $198 to give $1. So the government spends $19 million to give $1 million. Where does that 19 million go? Huh? Who benefits from this 19 million?
People that work at the welfare places.
And who works at the welfare places? I'll write down some things and then you guys add some stuff, okay? Let's put A. Come on, Denver people.
I don't know.
You gotta know if you're gonna be a political organizer. You can't talk about the welfare system in Denver if you don't know who heads it. Webb appointed him in his first term. Phil, isn't it? Phil Hernandez. Phil Hernandez from Denver. From Chicago, he's probably a black person that heads the welfare department. So you find out his name. So the appointment of Phil Hernandez should really make us happy, because we have a Mexican who heads the Department of Social Services in Denver. Denver, okay. So we should really be proud. We got a Mexican that was appointed by a black mayor to head the Department of Social Services in Denver. Now, who are all the different heads of the welfare departments in the state of Colorado, let's say. And then you guys will have to look in the state of Illinois, and people will have to look in the state of New Mexico, and the state of Texas, and the social workers. Now we know the doctors the dentist, and probably a small, very small, might have a few. The secretaries, you probably have, there's probably, say, 15%. The janitors, that's probably where we're really there. That's where we're at. Probably 90%. The pharmacists, you know, we may have a real small percentage. The counselors also. So, what is then, is this system, why is this system developed?
Because it's a setup.
Okay, setup. What do you mean by setup?
Okay, the government, they figure if they have so many jobs, right, in this country, and especially like in the city. So most of the jobs are like high-paying jobs, like the ones you pointed out. They all want to go. All the government wants the white people to get them. They don't want no Mexicans to be doctors, no Mexicans to be dentists. So instead of giving families chances to grow and better their lives, they trick them and they tell them, just go work and we'll give you so much money a month and we'll give you free medicine, all this and that. You're gonna be safe. So then it's a setup because you're gonna be giving you checks every month, but you ain't gonna be growing. Your family ain't gonna be.
Jason.
That's true.
Okay, how do you explain this? How do you break this theory down to your people? Welfare is devised by the government to free people.
They give you. It's like they give you enough, but not too much. You know what I'm saying? They give you enough money, but not too much. Like they give you, it's like
Makes you dependent on the state. Okay, let's try it right. I like that. Makes you on the state. They commit psychological destruction against our people. That's what we're saying. They give you enough money to you can eat, have your food stamp, pay your rent, and the bottom line, in the welfare budget in Denver, in the state of Colorado, they allow 56 cents a day per child for education. Can you educate a child on 56 cents a day? That's where the catch is. Then that's on one hand. And the welfare system becomes, like people, and I know people whose grandparents were on welfare, their sons and daughters were on welfare, and their sons and daughters now are on welfare. And it's not like first, second generation Mexicans. Second generation Mexicans already start, how to scam it, what they say, scam it, how to get the food stamps, how to get the check, how to do all this. But it destroys an incentive within ourselves. We can't get an education on 56 cents a day. We live in the most intolerable, miserable conditions. We live in the projects, or we live in low-income housing, or we live under a welfare budget. It is then set up to keep us in servitude, to keep us there. So we never want to break out of that because we're being fed. It's like an example I like to give is like when you capture a lion, right? You bring him to the zoo. Yeah, for 6 months. Well, he's used to being free and wild and out. And he's just roaring and really pissed off about being in the zoo and being caged up. And every day they bring him this big piece of meat, boy. And pretty soon, 6 months later, he likes it there. He's laying there waiting for that piece of meat to come and swatting flies off his ass with his tail, right? So when you see that, that's complacency. And that's what this system does. It does that to us, and on the other hand, it becomes an employment field for the white middle class. This 19 million doesn't go to us. Our poor people get the 1 million. And then they put somebody like this Phil Hernandez at the head of this to pacify the rest of us and have us all go, whoa. Because look what the Democrats did. They appointed Phil Hernandez. But the system doesn't change because Phil Hernandez has no power to change the system. The system continues the same way. And when you look at it, then how can we break out of this? How can we teach our people, look, if you get into this, you're going into slavery. It's a form of slavery. But how do we do it if we cannot take care of our own? So if we can't feed our people, if we can't give them a house to live, we can't do any of these things, then how do we talk to them? How can we have no alternatives? Why don't we have any alternatives? Why don't we have any alternatives? That's the major point of the political question. We have no alternatives because we have no land base. We lost our land. So we're dependent. And it makes you dependent on the state. That's a good slogan. That's a good statement that Jason made. It makes you, it destroys you psychologically, so then you lose. You don't have access to any intellectual capacity. And intellectual capacity, I mean, I'm not saying that people on the street aren't smart. They're smart because you may have a kid that's on the street that can't pass a math test, but if he's selling newspapers, you give him a $10 bill and see if he'll give you the correct change. See, so, but the intellectual capacity to understand the true nature of the state, the true nature of the government. See, when you don't understand that, then you become part of this whole thing. Oh, we can vote, and we'll get more Phil Hernandez's in to head the Denver Social Services Program. But how do you change? The white people take $19 million, the poor get $1 million. So for every $190 million, how much do the poor get?
10 million. Oh.
Okay, $190 million, how much money goes to the poor? So then the statement is, we always put forth who is really on welfare. Who's really on welfare?
The state.
Who's really on welfare? Who gets the 19 million? The state don't get the 19 million.
Doctors.
The white upper middle class. That's who benefits from this welfare system. So what do they live off of?
Misery.
Whose misery?
Our misery.
What other people's? All people of color. All poor people's misery. See, that's what they live off of. So that's how you have to be able to explain all of these things. Because that's what happens to us. And then we lose the ability to have this intellectual creativity. So it destroys us, this system here, 56 cents a day allowed for education. Where can we go with that? And all you got to do is pick yourself up and struggle, and you can make it. And you can become a success. So then they take people like Phil Hernandez, and they say, there he is. Bill came out of Texas, and the barrios from the Valle, and here he is, he's heading the whole welfare department. Now, if you want to do that, Danny Salcido, all you got to do is go to school and apply yourself. That's what you got to do. And if you don't do that, then it's your own fault. You don't want to succeed. And you don't want to succeed either, Socorro, because you don't want to excel in school. You don't want to apply yourself. And it's your fault. And you, Raul, you're lazy, you're shiftless, you don't want to go to school. And you, Ivan, you don't want to really do something for yourself. That's why you live over there in, what do they call the barrio there in Chicago? Yeah, see? And you, where do you live, Jason?
What about Hayes?
At Haynes? You too. You don't want to get out of there. You see, I mean, all you have to do is get yourself up
That's what they say.
and go to school and do all this shit. But see, that's their cover for this. That's their cover. They do that to make you feel bad for being oppressed. We don't, when they do that, we can't really understand our oppression. We get ashamed of being who we are and our social conditions and the way we live, you know? And we say, oh my God, why do we have to be like this? And I'm not going to say nothing, man, because it probably is my fault. I'm just not smart enough. I can't hang with these people. See, and what it is that they destroy our integrity. And they destroy our integrity by erasing from our mentality our reality. It's like this big tree, the biggest tree out here. It has no roots, and the wind comes, what happens to it?
Falls over.
Well, what happens to us in the society? We're being blown over every day. 35 million of us. And then you see, like, we have these contradictions, like the Mexicans, the first generation Mexicans, right? Coming across from the border, coming into the north and coming into the occupied territories. You see, all of a sudden they got bars, they got restaurants, they got all businesses, and fourth and fifth and sixth generation Mexicans, seventh generation Mexicans here don't have nothing, because we have this inferiority complex that we can't do anything. When we talk to each other, I tell Pedro, what the hell are you doing, Pedro? Why don't you put that trailer, fix it up, drag it down there, put the electricity in, put it in the store. You don't have to be working over there. You and your compañera can run that, man. It's right there. But there's no confidence. We don't have no confidence that we can do that. And that's sad, and that's the product of colonialism. So first generation Mexicans have their culture more intact, but we're still being devastated, even first generation. And then why do we kill each other? Why do we kill each other? Why do we have this anger against each other? We're frustrated. Where do we live? Who lives in the barrio? And who lives next door? Probably blacks. We're always either on the fringe of the black ghetto and the Mexican barrio. So we're frustrated, we're angry, we know psychologically what they've done to us. We don't know how to react, so we take it out on ourselves. We kill each other. We won't fight the enemy, but we'll kill each other over nothing. Or we'll go to war with black people or other people of color, or Puerto Ricans, and Puerto Ricans will fight the blacks and the Mexicans both. You know, and when you look at it, you say, well, that's like when people say, well, you got to stop the violence. Well, the only way you can stop the violence is to change the nature of the state, to change the society. But then they say, no, again, it's your fault. You want to live like that. See, we told you they're just violent prone. All they do is kill. Now they've made this whole gang syndrome, the whole key, right? That's their key now, okay? All they want to do is kill each other, and they're controlling drugs, they're doing all these things. Everything is bad about young people. And I'm not saying all our young people are really great, you know what I'm saying? They got a lot of problems, and there's a lot of our young people that would kill us, right? I mean, if we get into the wrong situation, wrong place, I don't care who you are, they would blow us away. But it's because of all of these things we talk about. And we have to be able, that's how you become a political organizer, has to win the hearts and minds of these people. And you do it by, when they look at you and they go, wow, you know, and how did you come up with all of this? Because this is the true nature of the way this system works. And this is how it affects us. So then you turn around and you say, after that, you say, agribusiness. Rich farmers get paid government subsidies for not growing crops. That's welfare. But it's agribusiness. It's rich farmers. So why doesn't anybody get pissed off at the rich farmers that get all this welfare money for not growing crop, and why do they do it? Why do you think they do it? Why do you think the government says, okay, Jason, Towers, I know you own 1 million acres of land. This year you can only plant on 500,000, but we're going to pay you what you'd have got for planting the other 500,000, and you don't have to plant. Why did they do that? Why do you think they would do that?
They don't want to have too much harvest
They don't want to have too much harvest.
for their balance.
Do you know why? Because capitalism, right? It's a system, an economic
It's
system.
competition.
So if you have 3 minutes, if you have more, then the prices go down. Then the transnational corporations don't make as much. So if you have an overabundance of frijol, and it's $39 a bag, but you had a rich harvest and everybody planted it, then they would sell it for 10. See? Who would benefit? The poor, the working class? No way. See, that's how you have to view these things. So when I get this other stuff together, we're through for the day. When I get this other...
American history is based on?
Discovery.
Remember, somebody told you about that word discovery. By one word. Look at the last thing on your notes. Land, 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 land. The question of Mexican history is the question of land. Almost everything around modern Mexican history goes and revolves around land.
Can we write that down too?
Yes, Sal, you need to write every word that comes out of my mouth. Yes.
Thank you, Connie.
Yes. Right.
Why is land so important? Why is it important? Why is land so important? What do we need land for? What?
Food to live.
Food.
To live.
To live in what? What do you mean?
To live. Basically for food.
Food. What else?
Basically.
Like what else? Like what?
Clothing.
Clothing. You can get some clothing.
House.
Clothing from land?
Houses.
A house. Well, yeah, a house.
Animals.
Animals. Thank you, because you know with animals you get leather. If you plant cotton, you get wool. I mean, if you plant cotton, you get cotton. If you have sheep, you get wool. All right. Animals. What else?
Medicine.
You could get medicine out of it.
Diseases.
Well, let's say food, clothing, housing, medicine. What else? What else? Why is land also so important? Go ahead.
Say cheers.
For your freedom. Okay, when you mean freedom, that's a good one, Yang. What do you mean freedom?
Having space.
Like if you own your own piece of land?
Yeah.
Okay. If you own your own piece of land, that means that you could, do whatever you want. You could have your own food. You could build your own house, just like here, right?
Yeah.
Basically, we're pretty free to do whatever we want here, except wake up after 5:30. More money. What else?
Because they're stuck up.
Well, yeah, but to make more money and what else? How do you make money? If you have a lot of land, how would you make money?
Rent it.
Huh? You rent it.
You could build on it.
Rent it.
Starve.
Do something and sell it for more.
You could exactly sell it for a higher price.
Build on it. Build to make more money.
Okay. More money. You got more money. You could plant stuff, right?
Use the resources.
Plant food. And you could use resources. Okay. Well, after the Mexican Revolution in Mexico, there were a lot of landowners that still own a lot of land in Mexico. Sorry. And does anybody know between, say, 1917 and 1980 of any other groups that fought for land in Mexico? Like groups, like big groups that like fought against the government, like with guns and stuff like that. Who? Before, not recent, but before 1980. No? Well, I got 4. Which ones? Well, there are some groups that call themselves liberation armies. Today, remember, yesterday we talked. There was a few subjects that you wanted to learn about. A lot of the things that we talked about happened between the 1950s and 1960s. What I want to do today is just learn about 4 groups in Mexico from 1940 to 1975 that directly fought against the Mexican army to get their lands back that were taken by rich people and were taken by the government. Okay, these 4 groups are very important in Mexican history. The reason why they're very important is because hardly anybody knows about them, and hardly anybody in Mexico wants to talk about these groups, because a lot of people who participated in these groups were killed, were imprisoned, and a lot of the family were killed, and a lot of the family were in prison. Everybody, there's 4 groups between 1940 and 1970. And I'm going to go through the groups right quick. Okay. And another thing, the name of these groups and the name of these people are important, but what I want you to remember more is why they fought and why they thought it was important to take the lands back. And a lot of it has to do with this. Okay? A lot of it has to do with this right here. All right, the first guy. First guy is this really old man. Really old man. He was like 65 years old. And his name is Rubén Jaramillo. Yes, sir. And he is from the state of where Alex is from. That's the state of Morelos. Okay. The interesting thing about Rubén Jaramillo is that he was a soldier in Emiliano Zapata's army in Morelos. After the Mexican Revolution, when he saw that there wasn't the lands were given back to people and there wasn't justice served, he decided to rise up again against the Mexican government. So in 1960, with over 1,000 campesinos, he took over half the state of Morelos. And Alex, do you know how big Morelos is? Small. Yeah, Morelos is not a really big state. I would say it's about the state of yeah, like Delaware, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. One of those states out there, but he took over half the state.
What do you mean by took over?
Just like we did here. They came in with a whole bunch of guns. They told the government they were going to take over the land, and that the people who lived on their land were going to start working the land, and that they were going to set up houses, cabins, and grow food, make clothing, provide for their livelihood. Because remember, most of the people in Mexico didn't own any land. They worked for somebody else. So they took over that land and said, this is our land now. It's always been our land, and we're going to take it over and we're going to defend it. Yes, sir.
What's that last word?
Morelos. And that's a state in Mexico. This land occupation lasted for 2 years. Okay? And in 1962, oh, by the way, the government was really pissed off. They were really pissed off. And one of the big reasons why they were really upset was because, salud, they tried to get him and his people out of this land, but they couldn't. They couldn't fight them directly with over 1,000 people. One, because the army at that time wasn't that big, and they'd just gone after a revolution. But two, was because the campesinos were very well trained, and they really believed in what they fought for. A lot of times in a lot of your history classes, you will know that a lot of wars are, when they're fought, the people that usually win are people that really believe in what they're fighting for. Okay? So this is one of those examples here. So it lasted for 2 years, but in 1962, what happened is that 60 soldiers went to Ruben's house, and with a machine gun, killed all 10 members of his family.
How come?
Could anybody explain to him how come? You know why, Sal?
No.
Could somebody explain it to him?
Because he took the land from the government.
You are not Madonna White.
No. Land of white on that. It's because he took land from the government, but also because he took land from rich people. Okay? That was in 1960.
Which is him and his family or just
Him and his family. What they did is, like, for example, say that was where he lived. There were 60 soldiers surrounding the house. They put a machine gun. They didn't even want to go near his house. They turned on the machine gun, and they just kept shooting. It was not even a standby, because they just got killed. Oh, and what they did is, after they got killed, they took the whole family out, took it to the capital, Morelos, and put it out in the main plaza so everybody could see. Why do you think they did that?
for everybody to be afraid?
So everybody could be afraid, and so they wouldn't try to do any of that stuff again.
That's still weird. That would piss me off even more.
But that's what they did. What they did is they put his whole family. He had kids, grandkids, 10 people in his family, and the army just shot him off.
Then what did you do with them?
They
Killed him and then put him in.
And then they put him in the square, in the plaza, so everybody could see what happens if people want to revolt and fight against the government. One guy. Oh, by the way, a lot of these names and people, because the history books, a lot of times it's just names of guys, and they don't really say about the women that participated in the group. But there was a lot of women that participated in all these things. It's just that the books, for a lot of different reasons, don't put the names of anybody else. Another person from who here is from Chihuahua? Here are that people in Chihuahua. Him, somebody else said that people in Chihuahua. No? You, Jose? All right. This guy, Arturo Gamis,
Huh?
from Chihuahua. Wow.
Chivas.
That's Chivas son de Guadalajara. And actually, he was one person that got really upset about what happened to Ruben Jaramillo. And in 1965, the same thing again. The town where he was from, the lands were taken by rich people, and the land was taken away by the government, and all the people there tried to go to the courts. They tried to petition to the government. All of them went to Mexico City and said, look, this is unjust. The government can't take our lands. Look, this is unjust. The rich people, they just went over. We can't do anything about it. The government didn't do anything. So what did they decide to do? They decided to organize themselves, take up arms, and attack an army barracks. So in 1965, this guy attacked an army barracks. Do people know what an army barracks is?
Isn't it kind of like Turkey? No, it's like one of the forts, the army forts.
It's like, for example, do any of you have friends or family that are in the Army Reserve or who are in the Army?
They're stationed in
Army bases.
They're Army bases,
Yeah.
right? They're Army bases.
What is that one called? I know that they closed down. Fitzsimmons.
That's right, something like that. So this guy Arturo Gamis, by the way, he was a high school teacher. This guy was a high school teacher. Organized a whole bunch of people and attacked an army barracks. A few years later, the army went after him with airplanes, tanks and everything, and they were going after him because, you know, you can't just attack an army barracks and think you're going to get away with it. You have to be sure that, you know, that you're going to fight back. He got killed 7 years later. 1972, I think. Yeah. He got killed in an ambush.
What?
That means that, for example, he was in a place, he was in the mountains like this, and they just surrounded him and just shot him up. Him and his people. Killed in an ambush. Chihuahua. Again, the same thing. They took their lands. The rich people took the lands. The government took over some people's lands. This group of people went to the government, said, look, we need our lands back. This is wrong. This is unjust. You can't do this to us. The government said, we don't care. It don't matter. This is ours. We could do whatever we want. Blah, blah, blah. So this one guy, who here is named Lucio? Anybody here named Lucio?
No, not this widow, that widow.
You? Lucio?
No, two.
Lucio Cabañas.
Lucio. Wait up.
Organized a group of people.
Is that a CAB?
Cabañas. C-A-B-A-N-A-S. And the reason, you know what? The reason I called you Lucio, because that's what his pronunciation is, Lucio. But if yours is Lucio, what was the name yours is Lucio? And he organized this organization in Guerrero. Does anybody know where the state of Guerrero is?
Mexico.
Huh? Where in Mexico? South. Anybody know where Acapulco's at?
Yeah.
Okay, Acapulco is in the state of Guerrero. And that's where this guy worked. This guy was also a high school teacher. He was a high school teacher. What happened was that he was a high school teacher in the mountains of Guerrero. And in the mountains of Guerrero, it's a very poor place. A lot like the state of Chiapas, where it's very poor. He went up there. He noticed that while he was up there, a lot of his students, because you know, if you teach in a very small town like Alamosa or like Tierra Amarilla or whatever, the teacher gets to know everybody's family, right? because you know the student, you know the family, blah blah blah. He found out that a lot of people's, a lot of his students' families' land were being taken away from the government and were being taken away from all these rich people. So what he did is he organized a couple of protests in Acapulco, and one of the biggest protests in Acapulco, when the army was called in, the army attacked the protesters and killed over 100 protesters. So what he ended up doing is he ended up picking up guns and he attacked another army barracks. And this was in 1972.
The same year that dude got killed?
The same year this guy got killed.
Kind of recent, huh?
Very recent.
Got like 35 years ago?
35, come on man. I'm 25. 23 years ago.
42 years ago?
23 years ago.
Yeah. When were you born?
I was born in Michoacan.
No, when?
1970.
So you were ready too when that happened.
I was barely 2, and actually not far from where that happened. So 1972, he attacked an army barracks. Oh, by the way, his organization, which has a pretty cool name, was called El Partido de los Pobres. Can somebody translate that? El Partido de los Pobres.
Something of the poor?
Something of the poor. What's partido? Un partido. You know what a partido is? No.
Partido like a game, isn't it?
Partido de los Pobres. El Partido Demócrata, el Partido... Party of the Poor. So that's the name of his organization, El Partido de los Pobres. And the reason why he named it is because most of the people that he organized, or I should say, yeah, most of the people he organized were poor campesinos, right? So if you have most poor people in your organization, it kind of makes sense that they call it Party of the Poor.
Not
They
real.
call it Salaman?
Part of Dumbo.
I have one more guy up here. But I want to know if people have any questions.
Dad, did that dude die?
Yeah, he got killed by the army.
When? What year?
He got killed in 1974. He got killed 2 years after he was killed. Actually, the way he got killed is interesting. If any of you, again, the state of Guerrero is a very mountainous state. And it was very hard for the army to get to him because it was very mountainous. So what they decided to do, instead of send an army to try and look for him, they sent one guy. They sent one guy. And they told him, go join the Party of the Poor and tell us where the headquarters is. And then when you tell us where the headquarters is, we're going to go and attack you. So this one guy who was an army guy went to the mountains for about a little bit less than a year. He was with the people, you know, real poor, blah, blah, blah. He joined the Party of the Poor. He went in, fought with them, and then once he knew where the headquarters were, he told the army, hey, this is where the headquarters are. They're here, they're this, that, and the other. And then within 24 hours, the army came in and killed him.
That would suck.
That's how he died. And that's what you call an informer. An informer is somebody that goes in like a spy and infiltrates the organization.
Then how come he died?
Because
They
shot
killed him.
He got lead poisoning.
Don't you think so?
I know he got killed.
Alright. So these are, if you notice the dates here, take a look and notice about this.
14 years.
This guy found out, this guy did this because of him. In 1972, he got killed. That's when this guy attacked the army barracks. And,
Before the other dude got killed.
no. What happened that this other guy, I don't know if people back there can see. Can you see that? See it now?
Look, I just my eyes over here. Oh, it's annoying.
This guy, Renato Vasquez. In 19, oh, by the way, Renato was also a high school teacher. I don't know, teachers are really crazy.
I wish we had Mexican teachers like that. Go out crazy on the
Wish we had Mexican teachers carry.
Actually, that's why I became a high school teacher. But in 19,
So you go crazy against the United States?
Yeah, he will.
That's cool. I'll join your army.
I'd help you.
you would?
Yep.
All right.
I'll blow up the White House for you.
The White House. Some guy from here already tried that, didn't he?
No, he only shot at it. I'll blow it up.
Oh, really?
It won't be the White House no more. Just a big pothole.
A big
It'd be a brown house.
Oh my God, the refrigerators are back. The cheesecake over.
In 1968, Renato Vasquez
Where did you blow
organized.
up? Oklahoma.
Organized a thing called a land self-defense group. Because, once again, he was a teacher, he was with the students, he found out that a lot of the land was being taken away, so he went with a big group to the capital,
What's up?
capital of Mexico City. To try and make sure that the land was given back to these people, but that didn't happen. So he organized a land self-defense group called, and this name's not as fancy as the other one, National Civic Association.
Hey, that's a fancy name.
Yeah,
That's the name?
yeah.
You know what, Carl?
No, stupid. It's just 3 words.
Yeah, we don't need that. Don't we need somebody to do sign language to you.
Everybody cool?
Nope.
Yeah, where's James? He's coming from.
No, really? You shot me and I would orange juice.
And this guy was also from Guerrero. You guys finished writing that down?
No, not yet.
So we organized this group. We fought against the army. He got some lands back. There was a group of his followers that overtook a piece of land in Guerrero. And then, what happens to him in 1972?
He died.
He gets killed. He dies. He got, actually, he gets killed, but this time he didn't get shot. This time the person didn't get shot by the army. He didn't get set up.
Shot by one of those.
He died.
He got hit by a truck.
No way. Dude.
He got
Wait,
hit by a
died.
truck. He got hit. But the thing about it is that it wasn't an accident. This guy was driving around in Michoacan, and there was this truck that was riding behind him. And I don't know if a lot of you people have gone to down south, south of the border, and when you're driving in those roads, you know how small the roads are? And then when you make those turns, almost like by Chama, where this truck came behind him and pushed him off the road. Because the reason why people know that he was pushed off the road is because there was a lot of braking and resisting even before the turn came. So the truck must have been pushing him, and he couldn't brake, and he got pushed off the road from this truck. So in a way, a lot of people say he was assassinated, because he was. Yes. Question?
I was gonna say he was pushed down the mountain and they found something wrong with the back of the car.
Man, yeah, it was something real wrong. He was squashed up. So, 1, 2, 3, these are 4 people, all right, who were organized in about 15 years. Well, give me some things here that in common with these 4 people here.
They're all high school teachers.
One, they're high school teachers.
Only 3 of them.
They're all
No,
only
he
high
wasn't a high school teacher. What else?
They all wanted to make a lamb.
They were all, hey, fellas, yo. Lucia. You guys, Enrique, you chill, man? All right, they were all fighting. Again.
Come back. They said
Now,
we could
which land? Whose land was it?
Their land.
Their land. It's very important for you that it wasn't other people's land. It was land that belonged to them that was taken away. What else? See, I repeated the same thing 3 times with these people. What, Sam?
They're all Mexican.
Oh yeah, they're all Mexican. Very, very good to know. What else, Sam?
They all died in 15 years.
What?
They all died in 15 years.
They all got, not died. What happened to them? They got
Assassinated.
killed. They got assassinated.
They were assassinated by weirdos. By weirdos.
No, they got assassinated by
Weirdos.
the government.
Yeah, like I said,
Mexican
weirdos.
government. What else? One very important thing. One more very important thing. Huh?
They all
Took over land at one time.
They all took over land. So they all, at one time they did take over some land, but when they got killed and assassinated, they lost it. So they did control land for a period of time. Before they took up arms and fought against the Mexican government, what did they do? Every single one of them.
talk to the family.
I
They
don't
touched
know
the family. What else?
Comment.
Somebody said it over here.
Study.
Study, but what else?
They
They protested. And how did they protest? They went directly to the government and they used the courts to try to get their land back through the system, right?
They only use violence and that didn't work.
So they went through
What does that mean, control land?
that at one time they controlled some land.
But you have it twice up there. You have it on the top and
No,
then
it just said that it was all their land in the first place that they had.
I am cooking.
They went through the legal system. So they all went to the courts, they all went to the government, they all went through the proper channels, and what happened?
they got turned down.
They all got turned down. So one of the things that are very common about all these people is most of them use very similar tactics.
You forgot your tea and sister.
Say something.
What? I didn't catch that. And what?
Huh? What? System, I forgot my tea right. Yeah, that's not important. Grammar.
Because you know he would have brought it up if you don't know
That.
Shut, weirdo.
Okay, you know.
Anything else? Anybody catch it?
Salamander. That's our word, all right?
Oh, really?
Any other thing you have a comment? Yes.
Oh no, I have a question.
Sure.
What about the participation of women in this organization?
Yes, like I stated earlier, that a lot of the times, through a lot of the history books, a lot of the things they were mentioned, but also the participation of women in a lot of these groups didn't happen. The big reason was because a lot of the people who participated in the organization were campesinos. And during that time, even more than now, it was the women's role to stay there, and the campesinos, the men, were the ones that take out these actions. I mean, as far as this, there were some women that participated with the arms, but not very many. And the ones that did, hardly anything is known about them. The only people that we do know that participated are women that were killed and women that were imprisoned from each of the groups.
Were they women who knew how to handle the drink?
Yeah. They were.
Like, did they practice things?
Yes, sir.
They go out and hunt deer?
No, they went out and hunted soldiers. They went to. One more thing I forgot to mention about these groups. These three groups here. Current important fact, and this is going to be very interesting about these groups. In order to get money, they all did two things in order to raise money for their organizations. How do you think they raise money?
Teachers.
Rob a bank.
They rob banks. One, they all rob banks.
And they're all teachers.
Yeah, they're all teachers.
Yeah, weirdo.
They all rob banks. And what else?
Trains.
Not trains. And they all kidnap people.
And get ransom?
And got big money. Kidnap.
Today, attack them.
Or did they sell them?
Someone kidnapped.
So, for example,
They trick them and then they gave
Arturo Gamis, he kidnapped the governor of Chihuahua. How much money you think he got for the governor of Chihuahua?
Oh, a lot.
4 million.
Huh? That's too much, actually.
1 million.
He got $1 million. What type of people do you think?
$1 billion.
1 million.
Unmarked cash.
$1 million.
I would have thought of 1 billion.
You probably want to got
$4 million.
Who else do you think they kidnapped?
Shoot, they probably would have killed the government.
No, they kidnapped. Priest don't not worth much. Who? Lieutenant? Who will have money to remember? Whoever you kidnap has to have money. Like, yeah, rich people. Like, that's good. This guy here, Lucio Cabañas, killed one of the kidnapped the biggest landowner in Guerrero.
But who would pay for him to get out?
His family. His family paid, because look, if you have a family and they don't want anything to happen to you, they will give you the money so nothing will happen to you, right?
I would have kidnapped the whole family.
And then who's gonna give you the money?
What you think that's dumb?
Damn it. That's another thing they have in
I've been
common.
hanging around Salamanca too much.
Any other questions with this before I end it? Any other questions? No questions? I have one more thing to end it, and this is very, very important. Jose, one thing to one last thing. Even though the leaders of this organization were killed in the 1960s and the 1970s, a lot of the people, got it? A lot of the people that still survive and still believe that the government was corrupt, they all left these states, and a lot of them moved to one state to hopefully later on, 10 or 20 years down the line, to renew the fight against the Mexican government. Okay. Most of them moved to one state. So maybe sometime in the future, fight against the Mexican government one last time. Does anybody know what that state is? They all went to Chiapas.
This way Indonesia.
I heard it's a nice place to be. So they all went to Chiapas.
Now, of all of these injuries, there's a lot of treatments, ways of treating injuries if you don't have a single thing. So first of all, what I want to cover is how to handle a lot of the injuries without any medical equipment, no first aid kit. Just what you have available to you. What are some of the most important things that you have to be aware of in order to prevent any of these common injuries, prevent them from developing into a life-threatening injury where if a person smashes their finger or cuts their leg, all of a sudden they end up dead 3 or 4 days later because you didn't do certain things right. Okay? Infection is one of the...
Can you make us a cake, miracle worker?
Let's list some of the caused by specific bacteria. Okay, what other problem can happen that can create more serious problems?
Hi. Hi, camera. Hi, Mom.
That international, I thought. Did you see the tent?
Took my driver's license over. They wouldn't give it to me. From Germany.
Okay.
5 more years, and then I'll have to.
What should we do? Should we run?
So who are we doing now? The water goddess of Teotihuacan. And Gabriel's doing the...
I'm doing the...
The what? The god of king.
You're doing the lady of the jade shirt.
I'm doing the lady of the jade shirt.
The water goddess of Teotihuacan.
The water god. What am I doing?
Theo.
God. The god.
Uh-huh. And the god king... 6. Teotihuacan was a vast city in the Valley of Mexico dedicated solely to the gods. The huge pyramids of the sun and the moon may still be seen there. Teotihuacan greatly influenced the Mayan cities to the south. You have that one too, Chair, right?
Chair, let me use the black. He's holding the black baby. A brown baby.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's blood. Look at my gator. Color.
The amount of pain is very, very intense. That creates a very immediate problem that you're going to have to deal with, which is that person might go into shock because of the amount of pain. Begin treatment for shock. You want to get that person to lay down. Most likely, if you have a broken bone, what's going to happen, the body's natural reaction is there's going to be a lot of fluid that's going to develop, begin to accumulate around the broken bone. The body knows that it's injured. So you have to elevate the broken bone. The area that's broken, you can elevate it. You want to try to keep the general body, the main body warm. Okay, because you're dealing with very intense pain, so you want to, that person most likely is going to go into shock. So you want to keep that person warm. You want to keep the central core. When I talk about the central core of a person's body warm, I'm talking about the heart and the head. You want to keep the heart and the head warm. Okay, so you want to treat for shock. This is shock treatment up here. And the shock treatment is a direct result of the pain that the person, that the broken bone is going to be feeling. Okay, so what else? What else can you do if you don't have like anything else? Any other treatments that you can think of? That's basically it.
Hi. Hi guys. We ain't throwing blocks around today. We're just building. This is all our land. All the blue part is our land. If we go on the dirt, we'll get shot. If we go outside, we'll get shot.
They gave that land to the community, to the city.
We could go anywhere we land.
As the name Columbus
But
Park
all our
remained on
land
it.
that's not building on. Yeah, and we're building all our houses, but we're gonna get our machine ready, but we're not gonna.
That was
Shit.
that was
Give me a minute. You say it, and then I'll say it. And then the same thing. Today, we done Adobe just to teach, like it was like an art project. It was teaching other people that didn't know how to make Adobe. The first thing you do is dig a hole, get water, get some sand, put some weeds in it, certain kind. Then you like smash it. How we did it, we smashed it with our hands and feet. And then when we mixed it, they got a barrel. We filled it up with Adobe, and then we brung it, and then we filled it with Adobe little blocks. We did today in that class. We went to go to the fish farm.
That gas oil thing?
Come here, your turn.
Oh, okay.
Today, and we made cabins, and we made goalies, and played baseball.
Don't look like it has any?
Good. That's it, Mom. So when Mom, stop. Pizza from the learning center. Where's the pizza from the learning center?
Remember the pressure cooker on this side of the fence?
Are they having a
On vacation. Yeah, we went on vacation. Well, I went on a conference in May.
Me and Grandpa went now in June. The beginning of June we went. So glad we started to make us from bad.
Hey! Never stop hitting Kaudu. That's okay, Kaudu. You're on him right there.
O así nomás. Gracias.
You dann noch den Kreis machen.
When you know the spot where we know work, we can put chairs.